All right, thank you for attending the Cascade Locks City Council Candidate Night. My name is Heather Weaver, and this is Janice Crane, and we will be moderating the forum for this event.
I'd like to take a second and thank all of the candidates for coming out tonight, and for those of the other candidates who were not able to make it. All of them were responsive and grateful that the event was being put on, but just not available. So if everyone could please take a moment to silence your cell phones. We also request that the audience refrain from outbursts such as clapping, booing, side conversations, and commentary.
Our evening program will include candidates introducing themselves. Candidates will respond to 4 prepared questions, and then they will respond to a couple of audience submitted questions. And all candidates may choose to respond or not respond to the audience submitted questions. Out of everyone's respect for everyone's time limits will be enforced. Candidates can choose to linger afterwards if you want to have one-on-one conversations with people afterwards, outside or whatever. That's of course totally fine.
All right, and without further ado, candidates, if you could please introduce yourselves and tell us why you are running, about your previous governmental experience, and why you love Cascade Locks. And we'll go left to right, starting with Courtney.
Hello, I'm Courtney Kyle. I'm running for a position in City Council. I bought my house in Cascade Locks in 2018 and have enjoyed becoming a part of the community. I'm an electrician and a proud union member of the IBEW local at 48. I began going to council meetings over a year ago, and I found something that I'm passionate about: keeping Cascade Locks thriving and flourishing. I also chaired the Charter Review Committee and met so many people through that. Through those interactions with our other residents, I feel like I echo the ideals from a large demographic of our town that is currently underrepresented in council. That's it.
Wow. She read that fast.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I'm Tiffany Pruitt. I've been a citizen of Cascade Locks since 1994. Raised all 3 of my kids here. I have been part of the budget for over 20 plus years. I have been on council previously. I currently am right now a precinct committee chairperson. Precinct committee person, sorry. Columbia Gorge Friendship organizer, an ARC special needs bowler, and I am also the Special Olympics bowling head coach. The other questions were, why do I love Cascade Locks? Cascade Locks is a wonderful little town. It has a small town quality that most people know what you're doing before you do in the town. It's just a great small community town. Get 5 seconds. If you do it real quick, then you get 5 extra seconds.
Okay, I'll do it real quick.
Okay.
I'm Mary Ann Bump. I am running for city council because I want to help our community, which I have lived here all my life. And it's a great city to be here, and I want to get it back on track on financials. I've been working for the Port of Cascade Locks for 21 years, 15 years for the city, and I'm currently on budget committee and served on the charter review committee. I love the small town atmosphere. Getting to know everyone at some point is really great. It helps the camaraderie in our community. See, I even did better than 20 times.
Can I use your time?
No, you can't use it.
Yes, hello, my name is Scott Jackson. I've lived in Cascade Locks for a few years now. My experience, I've worked in the auto industry for 23 years now. In that, I am the one that comes in dealing with profits, budgets, losses, making cuts where needed to make it more of a profitable. And I think that would carry over into what we're doing here with the city council and trying to get our budget back in line and get the things done that needs to be done in the Cascade Locks. The reason I love Cascade Locks is the small community. I have felt more welcome here than any town I've lived in. That's why I travel to Eugene and everything like that, but I still always call Cascade Locks home and come home every night because I love this community and the way everybody welcomes everyone in.
Um, Hi, I'm Emily Seeley. I am running for city council. I feel it would be really positive to have a bright, calm, cool, collected individual on our council to help better our city and its choices that we make to benefit everyone. A little bit about my experience. I moved here in 2021. I bought my house here in 2023. I currently sit as the chair on the tourism committee, the Main Street board, and the revitalization committee. I love Cascade Locks. It's very near and dear to my heart. I've been coming out here for a very long time. I am an Oregonian, born and raised. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Samuel Murillo. A little bit about myself. I was born in Hood River, raised in Parkdale all my life. 2009, purchased our home out in Shahala, and where my wife and my new daughter are making a life for ourselves. The reason that I'm running is I want to create diversity for the leadership of what Cascade Locks is as a Latino individual, and bringing the voices of our Latino community to the fold, and being at the table with leadership. My background is in unions. I've been a union leader since 2011 with the Carpenters Union, and also an advocate for the Farm Workers Union based out of Woodburn, dealing with pensions and trusts, and having to answer the call when we have to remove benefits from folks is not an easy one, but I can dive in and do the research to make sure that we can answer the questions. And I love Cascade Locks because of our scenery and peacefulness.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Pete Happy, and I'm running to be your next mayor. Before I begin, I want to express my gratitude to the port for hosting us this evening, and to the volunteers who worked hard to put this event together, and to all of you for showing up despite the rain. I'm a lifelong Oregonian, grew up in Troutdale, and even when I was overseas serving in the U.S. Navy, this region has always felt like home. As a veteran and business owner, I've built my career leading teams, listening to others, finding solutions through collaboration. Cascade Locks needs leadership that brings people together, strengthens our financial position, and will work to revitalize our downtown. What I love most about this community isn't just its beauty or history, it's the people. Together, we can honor our past while building a brighter future, creating new opportunities, and ensuring Cascade Locks remains a place we're all proud to call home.
Thank you, everyone. And I believe we have Bernard on via Zoom.
Yes, can you guys hear me okay? Me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. So good evening, I'm Bernard Seeger, and I'm running for city council as a resident of 17 years. A quick little about me. I was born in Texas, went to college at West Point, then spent 8 years as an infantry officer in the Army. After the Army, I went to graduate school to study public administration, and then spent the next 18 years working in local government, including 4 cities and 1 county. I'm running for council because I care deeply about our town and want to see progress in 3 areas: financial stability, housing, and downtown/economic development. I feel I'm well prepared for this job because of my time in the Army and 18 years in this industry, including 44 months as the city administrator for Cascade Locks, giving me unique insight into problem solving and how to make cities work better. My love for Cascade Locks is centered on its incredible access to spectacular nature like forests and the Columbia River, and the close-knit community I experience among all the residents that call it home. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Chris, if you don't mind just double checking the timer situation. Okay, thank you. All right, so for our first question, for each of the candidates, we'll just keep going in the same order. In your opinion, what is the most urgent problem facing the city right now, and how do you recommend solving it?
Going left to right every time?
Yeah. Congratulations. You're hitting them wrong.
Lucky me.
We can mix it up, actually. Good point. We'll mix it up next time.
Okay. Number one job of city council is to provide safety for our community, and fire, EMS, and sheriff contracts have all been threatened. Those budgets are being threatened by spending money we don't know if we even have. We need to be up to date on our audits before investing thousands. We need to realign expectations to meet the needs of citizens first. Once the proverbial checkbook is balanced, only then can we move forward with investing in our future. Giving downtown a facelift would be energizing for our city, but not if it endangers our ability to provide patrols and emergency services, and not when the town is this close to going broke.
Checking that timer. That timer is like has a mind of its own tonight. Okay, so Walgreens, Big Lot, Red Lobster, Joanne Fabrics, all Chapter 11, Dentist Uniform of Southeast Portland closing today. CVS cutting 29,000 jobs. 7-Eleven closing 450 stores. PPG Painting is laying off $1,800. And today, Sherry's Restaurant closed in all of Washington and Oregon. The economy is bad. And you know who doesn't cut their spending? It's government, including our city. Just look at the pay equity study that shows that all of the office staff is over 100% of pay, including the city administrator, who the council just voted to give a $10,000 pay raise and a 6-month severance package and of pay and benefits after being on the job for only 1 year. Not only that, we are almost 3 years behind on our audits. We just need to stop spending. That's the solution. Sorry, your turn.
Okay, there are many urgent problems, but the biggest is the financial situation that we are in. We need to get our audits done so we know our balances and stop spending until we have those figures unless absolutely necessary. This is very important to get our city back online.
The thing I see that's the biggest problem within the city is, like everyone has said, is our financial crisis that we're in right now. I'm the type of guy that likes to get all the data, bring it all in, do the research before I make any rash decisions and way in which we need to do to cut the spending so that we can bring in the money that needs to be there, get our audits all up to date, and stop frivolous spending and only spend on what is necessary within our safety of our community and what the community as a whole needs, not just a few individuals within the community. Our fire department, our sheriff patrol, that's what we need to focus on and help in this community.
Well, clearly we all agree that there is a financial problem in this city. And yes, I do believe that is one of the most urgent problems. I feel that we need to look at different sources of revenue and take advantage of different opportunities to help loosen the burden on our citizens and find ways to help create more revenue within our city, whether it be in business development or tourism.
I'm going to be echoing a lot of the financial aspect of this conversation with this question. I mean, from what I've seen and from what I've heard, obviously spending money on cops, talking about the fire department, spending money on iPads, positions not being filled within the community because of discrepancies in pay. I mean, all these things come into play, but I think that the aspect of actually the biggest thing that I think that we would need to focus on is getting a grant writer to help us get some of these funds back into the community. So it takes that burden away from the community actually having to pay for it. And making sure that we scour high and low from federal and state level funding to be able to bring that money back into the community and be able to help that with that particular aspect is something that I think is imperative for our government to run correctly. Thank you.
The most urgent challenge facing Cascade Locks is achieving long-term financial stability. Our general fund supports essential services like public safety, infrastructure, and community programs, and we need to ensure it remains strong to meet both current needs and future demands. To address this, we need professional financial oversight. Hiring an in-house full-time finance officer will give us expertise to manage the budget efficiently, identifying new revenue opportunities, and ensure our financial strategies align with the city's long-term goals. A finance officer will also help us pursue grants and build partnerships that reduce the burden on residents while ensuring we have the resources to invest in essential services. With careful financial planning and a proactive approach, we can secure a sustainable future for Cascade Locks and build a budget that reflects the values and priorities of our community.
Am I up?
Yes, Bernard, it's your turn.
Okay, so I agree with the previous folks. Financial stability is our number one priority, in my opinion. As mentioned, we are currently behind 3 audits. Many of our general fund services like fire and police are underfunded, and our sewer utility is borderline running in the red. Bottom line, our financial house is not in order. To resolve this, I'm advocating for the hiring of a full-time finance director, and indeed, council has recently conducted this organizational change, partially as a result of the work I've done as an incumbent on council. To improve the picture for our sewer utility, we need a comprehensive cost of service analysis and a rate study to ensure we can meet all its operational and capital needs. Lastly, I'm campaigning for ballot measure 1481 so we can remove the policy uncertainty regarding the setting of fees to properly account for the services the city provides. I'll discuss my ideas further for fire and police in the later question.
All right, thank you all. We are now on to question 2. How would you effectively work with individuals who have differing opinions, perspectives, and ideas to find compromise and achieve city goals? And this time we'll go right to left and start with Pete.
I believe that differing opinions in public debate are essential to the functioning of a healthy democracy. When we engage with diverse perspectives through open, thoughtful discussions, we make better decisions, build stronger solutions, and increase community support for the outcomes. On City Council, I've experienced how respectful debate challenges assumptions and leads to innovative solutions. Even when disagreements arise, focusing on shared goals like financial stability or infrastructure improvements help us move forward together. Listening carefully, leading with transparency, and showing respect for others create the conditions where collaboration thrives. As mayor, I'll continue fostering public participation and encouraging debate that's constructive rather than divisive. By valuing every voice and working through disagreements productively, we can find solutions that serve the best interests of Cascade Locks and build the trust needed to move our community forward.
Ditto. No, this is a great question. As a Mexican-American leader in construction trades, these conversations I had quite frequently because the people that I was talking to didn't look like me. So the biggest thing for me was listening and getting that there was commonalities in our differences also, and actually getting to what their wants and my wants and working together to collaboratively work together on getting to that common goal, removing the stuff that can definitely be like not very imperative to moving the situation forward. But yeah, listening is key, and making sure that you're dealing with a level of respect and making sure that every voice is heard. That's how I see this question. So thank you for the question.
I would be calm, cool, and collected. Listen, I fully agree. Listening is really important. And so often we feel so strongly about our differences in views, we forget to listen to the other person's views. And if we can just take a minute to work together to collectively come to a compromise, we will ultimately better ourselves as individuals in the community and our community as a whole. It takes a village to, raise a family, and we're a village, and we're just trying to raise our community up. And yeah, just being positive is really important because there's a lot of negativity out there, and we can just take a minute and listen to one another.
My feeling is a lot like what these guys have said, is listening is a quality not much used by a lot of people anymore. We need to have compassion for our fellow neighbors and in the community. We need to listen to what they have to say, take it to heart. It doesn't have to be an argument. More or less, if we can civilly discuss our differences, then we can kind of meet in the middle, the happy medium. And that way everyone has a voice in the community and no one feels alienated, ignored. Just have the compassion as a community to help each other.
Him now?
Sure. Bernard, would you like to go in the middle?
Sure. So to work with folks with differing opinions, it all starts by getting to know them. Questions like, what's their life story? What values are important to them? And what do they want for Cascade Locks? These conversations hopefully will lead to the building of mutual trust and a relationship. Once you've established those items, then you can take on the hard issues in a respectful and hopefully productive way, but it starts with relationships. I've actually done this work in Cascade Locks when we were taking on the senior housing project in Edgewood to a positive resolution there. And I also did it in my work in the Army when I was deployed to Bosnia. We got special training and interest-based bargaining that further advances our ability to find common interest and get our negotiations to yes.
Everyone has a different opinion and ideas. It is important to listen to the individuals, work together to achieve the goals for the city.
Okay, so I've really never had trouble working with people on who have differing opinions with me. I was the only person on council who was against both Nestle and the casino, and I was able to cross party lines to work with others. The biggest thing with working with other people is that you have to get down to the core, the platform, the bottom, because what you necessarily understand something to be might not be what somebody else does. And it's important to ask questions, which I always do. I ask lots of questions because I really want to understand what the other person is thinking. And I want to see if where we can come together on our ideas. And that is, really important. And it's been a frustrating aspect of watching the council these past few years where they just stifle somebody that they just don't want to hear from. So.
To come together as a city is vital. To build a community that checks everybody's preferences is impossible. To find the greatest positive impact for the community, I would set aside my personal preferences and vision for the city and listen to the community about where their ideals lie. We are going to hear different opinions, and without those differing opinions, we won't be able to find the point of greatest impact. One of my favorite things about humankind is that we have the ability to think differently from one another. Regardless if I agree or not, I respect the other's experience and value what they bring to the table. Compromising is not synonymous to sacrificing. There are no losers in compromise.
All right, thank you, everyone. So we'll move on to our third question. And just for fun to mix up the order, let's start with Bernard and then we'll go Scott to Pete. And then we'll go Courtney to Marianne, if everyone can remember that. All right, so question 3. Describe your position on measure 1481, the City of Cascade Locks charter updates.
Okay, so I strongly support 1481. I served on the charter committee as well, so I'm very familiar with the proposed changes. We had unanimous support for, I believe, all the proposed changes on the committee, and that included 2 other citizens who are also running for council. So I feel like this was a diverse group who came to agreement. I'm a yes on this because our current charter is almost 30 years old and in many ways lacks clarity, is confusing in its organization, and conflicts with the state constitution. We work very hard to craft language that remedies all these shortfalls. I encourage everyone to look at our work. Regarding the fee language, I support this change because it strikes a middle ground that honors the will of the voter from 2008 while bringing our charter into compliance with the state constitution. At the end of the day, part of the reason our city lacks financial stability is because of the policy uncertainty created by the 2008 amendment. I'd like us to fix that by voting yes on 1481.
I am also in support of 1481 in the aspect of it was written a long time ago, and I realize that, but we have to untie our hands in the community to be able to sustain what we need to do, grow what we need to grow, and collect what we need to collect. Inflation is, it's normal. I know it's a sore subject for a lot of people, but it's time that we look at it as a community and say, it's time we all kind of pick up, put our fair share into the mix, and let's make this city the way it should be and the way it can be, and support the growth that we need in the community.
I'm also in favor of 1481. The changes do make it more aligned with the state laws and allow us the ability to grow properly and build a better future for us as a community. Yes, the 2008 amendment was, it needs to be changed, and the charter review committee is a really good change, and it allows people to work collectively to come together to help make those changes for our city.
Yes, I'm also in favor of 1481. Just looking at it from the business aspect of administrative fees. I mean, if you're having to conduct business and you're hamstringing your council from making decisions because everything has to go out to the voters, you're creating a flaw in your council. I mean, you voted on them for a reason, and you have an ability to remove them from office if they're not doing their due diligence as a person that's going to be able to represent you correctly. So just looking at it from that perspective, you want to be proactive in the aspect of being able to make changes as they occur. And if you have to wait 2 years to put something to a vote, then you're not really allowing your city council to do the business of government. So that's why I'm in favor of 1481.
I support Measure 1481 because it provides the tools Cascade Locks needs to manage resources fairly and efficiently. Our current city charter is nearly 30 years old with outdated language that can be confusing. The new charter simplifies and modernizes this language, making it easier for residents and officials to navigate. One concern I've heard is about keeping the city out of residents' pocketbooks. We've all seen it, it's on the yard signs, and that statement is a little misleading. One example, right now, we aren't charging for short-term rental licenses, even though managing the program takes city resources, leaving residents to cover the cost. Measure 1481 allows us to implement fair administrative fees for services like this so users, not residents, pay their share. The measure also ensures that major financial decisions like new taxes or large-scale fees remain under voter control. A yes vote on Measure 1481 helps Cascade Locks operate responsibly, protects financial stability, and ease unnecessary burdens on residents.
I put many long hours into reformatting and updating our charter, and I'm very proud of the work we all did. I believe it polished up nicely. If the residents decide they like the updated version, I am happy to respect their wishes. There is a large point of contention in our community about the removal of an amendment stating new taxes, fees, and charges are to be voted on by the people. Some would say that our community is going broke because the council can't just create changes and raise fees, but neither of any increases failed to vote or even gone to a vote. The residents of this city felt it necessary to add this safeguard due to the actions of past councils. And as far as I can tell, the city attorney at the time allowed it to be added to our charter. The current city attorney is unable to give an ORS explaining any unconstitutionality. My only hope is that the community will make a well-informed decision on the future of our charter. I will be voting no.
So I'm a firm believer in the citizens' original intent of the 2008 charter change of no new tax, charge, or fee, unless ratified by a majority of the city's qualified electors. Unfortunately, Measure 1481 waters down the ability to hold a council accountable by the citizens. Therefore, I will be voting no. The city in 16 years' time has only brought two measures to the citizens, one to raise the cemetery fees and one to for the EMS service fee, both of which passed. Why haven't they brought other measures to the citizens to vote on? They didn't even try. It's unfortunate because there is much in the new charter I agree with, like the change of being able to be elected to more than one office as long as the office is not within the city limits. The Charter Review Committee worked hard. It was set up to be a 7-person committee. 6 were appointed, 2 quit, barely leaving a quorum. There were 3 other applicants, myself, Brenda Wood, and Cody Stillman, but the mayor would not even consider those applications and would not explain why, stating several times that she stands by her decision. I chose to watch each meeting anyways and was able to watch the process, but it was just very frustrating not to be able to be part of it.
I'm sorry. Well, I too was on the Charter Review Committee, and I thought that revising the format of the charter was good. The charter now, you can read it and understand it. The major thing that we changed was to put on the ballot explaining the change or send out to the citizens to explain the change. That was not done. This is not okay with me. The citizens have the right to know that information. And for you that have looked at the ballot, it doesn't tell you what we changed. So unless you know what we've changed, it's going to be very hard to vote yes for that. So I am currently hindering on the border right now.
All right, thank you. Question 4, what are your ideas for sustainably funding emergency services? And let's go out to in, starting with Pete.
Sustainably funding emergency services is essential to keeping our community safe. I support Measure 1480, which continues and increases the EMS fee to ensure reliable funding for critical emergency services. Beyond this, we can now use transient lodging tax funds for public safety services such as fire and EMS. This new flexibility reduces pressure on the general fund and ensures visitors contribute to the services they rely on. We should also explore grants, partnerships with neighboring communities, and economic growth to further stabilize funding without increasing the burden on residents. With oversight from a full-time in-house finance officer, we can manage these resources strategically, ensuring high-quality emergency services are always available when you need them most.
Sorry, I was unclear with what out to end meant. Let's do Pete, Courtney, Sam, Tiffany, Emily. Yeah.
According to our fire chief, tourists and non-residents take up the most resources from emergency services. Excuse me. Cannon Beach was able to create a food and drink tax that added $1 million to their EMS fund in the first year. While Cannon Beach sees substantially more tourists, I think this is a wonderful way to raise funds for emergency services where the burden does not fall entirely on residents. I would love to see this on a ballot.
It hasn't changed. Oh. Yeah, this is a great question. Actually, with looking at a grant writer, giving us the ability to scour, like I said, federal and state opportunities to bring money back into the community. But I'd also work with our fire chief and see what like-minded towns have programs that are functioning for them. I would ask to know what areas he sees that are successful and make sure that we're interacting with those places and figuring out what they're doing to bring that potentially back into our area. That's how I think would be the best opportunity of getting the most information out to our community and also collaborating with our fire chief on, I mean, our community has the answers. It's just a matter of asking the right questions. So thank you.
I also am in support of 1480. I'm a little critical. I wish it would have been for every 2 years, and just in case this charter change doesn't happen, because every 5 years is a bit too long. And I feel like it maybe should have even been more than what it was. I'm also for grants and a gas or a food and beverage tax. But one of my big frustrations of living in Cascade Locks is that the port brings in the tourism, but they don't do anything to help pay for the fire or the police. And it's been a real frustration of mine for the 30+ years we've lived here. They haven't even come to the table to even discuss it. So the port needs to step up and come to it too. And, you know, and I'm always looking for information to share with the fire chief as well. So just some ideas.
Yes, I am in favor. Our community safety and the safety of those visiting our town is very important. And looking at different federal grant options, and agree with partnering with other communities and talk with the fire chief to see what other communities like ours are doing, to see how we can implement that into our community to better fund our EMS services and lessen the burden on the individuals of our community.
Before I can give you ideas of EMS sustainability, I would need to know the total dollars required to become sustainable, and then work with the EMS department to figure out what we can do to accomplish this. It might be grants, it might be other issues. But before you can tell me, or before we can do anything, I need to know what is the dollar figure we're looking for.
Okay, am I up?
We were going to have Scott go and then you, sorry.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm also a supporter of 1480. And I do know that we need to work with John and the rest of the fire department to come up with what it's going to require, what we're going to need to do to make it work, what dollar figure is needed. And I know I was a volunteer firefighter for years, and I know we can work with other fire departments in our surrounding areas to help bring in some ideas on how we can do it. I do know that if we implemented taxing on some of the activities that are used, like fuel, food, things like that, tourists, to have them help pay for what we need. So the community isn't responsible for all of it, but I know there's grants and everything that we can apply for training and equipment, because we're in desperate need of upgrading our fire department and their equipment.
Okay, so for the near term, I'm campaigning for the passage of 1480. This measure will generate an additional almost $50,000 for our fire and EMS department, which if you're familiar with the numbers, that's almost a 10% increase in their total budget. Next, I'm supporting 1481 to eliminate policy uncertainty for setting ambulance service and fire response fees that we charge our customers. Until last year, the city had not touched these fees for the previous 14 years, all while the fire department was slowly draining its reserves of financial capacity. If we pass 1481, the fire department will no longer find itself in this policy limbo when setting fees for its services. Next, I'm supporting investments like the solar array on the fire station, which when completed will save the department an estimated $5,200 every year in utility costs. And lastly, I'd like to see the city, for a longer term solution, and investigate the creation of a countywide fire district. The reality is, if we regionalize these services, the individual burden that's placed upon property owners will get reduced if we can put a regional lens on that, and then consolidate things like HR and oversight.
All right, thank you, everyone. So that concludes the preset question and answer section of our forum. We want to take some questions from the audience, but we'd like to just take a short break to try and maybe solicit a few questions on our board over here. So if we could just take maybe 5.
We didn't get enough questions before the event started, so we're going to take a break real quick and see if the audience has come up with anything after listening to. So if you want to take a second and get a drink of water, and we'll chat with the audience. The candidates could please start to return to their seats. We'll get you those questions so that you have a minute to think about them. Two questions. Yep. Mhm.
There's only 2.
There's only 2 anyway. One is a repeat of one of the prepared questions. We got 3 questions on here, and and one was a repeat. All right, candidates. So the first question, and we'll give you a minute to think about it before putting you in the hot seat. The first question is, what is the city's responsibility to help bring in businesses that will create good jobs and boost the economy and increase helping to pay taxes to increase the tax base for the city? So again, what is the city's responsibility to help bring in businesses that will create good jobs, boost the economy, and increase helping to pay taxes to increase the tax base for the city? And we'll give you a minute to think about that before we put you in the hot seat, unless someone is ready to roll.
I'm happy to take that if you want to kick us off.
All right, go for it, Bernard.
1 minute.
Yes.
Okay. So look, the primary responsibility of cities on economic development, it's generally about infrastructure and creating a business-friendly environment. The things the city controls, like water, sewer, electricity, streets, housing, those are all things that businesses consider when they're trying to make a location decision. And if city runs its utilities well and keeps prices down low, you can bet they're going to run the numbers and see, how can I make the most money if I settle in Cascade Locks? Now they consider other things like workforce, opportunities, and things that we don't control, as quality of schools, for example. But from that city perspective, we are the keys on the infrastructure. And I'll tell you, when I was the city administrator, it was so neat when you would bring in a business and you would have your water guy and your sewer guy and your electric guy all in one space talking through all their needs. I promise you, it was impressive as heck to have that all in one house. And we have a competitive advantage because of that. It's something I would like us to take advantage of to bring in new economic development, to work on that tax base so we reduce the burden on everybody else.
All right, thank you. And we'll let you popcorn and say who's ready to go next.
Me?
All right, Sam? Samuel? Mhm.
I like this question. I think it's definitely imperative that we actually do like a community survey, actually, because the last thing that we want is to actually focus on bringing the wrong business to town. I mean, we already talked about a casino. We already talked about Nestle. What's the point of trying to entice someone without actually having a reality of who's going to be here? Because then potentially the town might say, we don't want them here. And that's a big problem there. So why not put out a survey that we understand where we can focus on? Also, with whoever we bring here, supporting union jobs for the construction aspect of it, bring in apprenticeship, so it brings learning, and also diversity aspect to these contracts. So that's the way that I would go about bringing business here. First is asking the community what they see best fits.
All right, thank you. Pete and then Tiffany.
Well, downtown revitalization is the #1 issue that was identified by the residents during the strategic plan that we had a lot of engagement with. Ways that the city can help to create a climate that's business friendly are things like updating our city's development codes, updating our transportation system plan, and our electric capacity. Small businesses are the backbone of Cascade Locks, and we need to ensure that they thrive. All work to create a business-friendly environment through streamlined regulations that support and support services. We also need to focus on diversifying our economy beyond tourism by attracting sustainable businesses that align with the character of our community. Supporting local businesses helps create jobs, strengthens our economy, and builds a more resilient Cascade Locks.
Okay, so yes, we do need to be business friendly. A lot of times I've heard people, they get very frustrated with our processes. They're very long, they're very tedious. Look at Ixtapa, for example. I mean, they were going to be open this spring, they were going to be open this summer, they were going to be open this fall. Now it doesn't look like it's for another month. We still have one that they have to go through, jump through another hoop. It was parking, now it's a neon light. We need to be more friendly and be working with people who want to come invest money in our town, because if they can't come invest money in our town, then there's no, if it's a battle right from the beginning, then you get a kind of a bitter taste in your mouth and you don't want to come. And who can blame them? I mean, it's a frustrating thing. So we do need to streamline things, and we do need to be more friendly, and we need to encourage the businesses that are downtown to spruce up, because we do have some eyesores that need to be cleaned up, and they're not very welcoming.
I agree that some standardization of codes, it seems like a lot of times we are reacting to things. I think we need to be a little bit more proactive in making sure that the codes are clear. My first thought went to Ixtapa as well. Just seems like they've had to jump through hoop after hoop after hoop. And I have watched as other businesses have not had to do the same things. So that needs to be written in black and white so that everyone knows what's expected and everyone can do what they need to do. I would love to see businesses here that aren't just for tourism. There's I'm going to say a very large percentage of our high school students have worked at Eastwind, and I love that. I think it's one of the charms that Cascade Locks has. So to be able to provide a business with lasting impact like that, I would like to see that for our community, and also cleaning up our downtown a little bit, I think would help a lot.
I'll try it, see what I can do. Well, everybody has great ideas. I have to agree. We have to be business friendly. Our downtown is not looking good. The two businesses that we have that are vacant, there's got to be something that the city can do to help that, might bring in more businesses. I don't know. The codes that we have to do are very confusing at times. And I think by clearing them up, that would help a lot. I'm sure there's a lot more things that we could do, but I'd need to get involved in some of those before I can really make a decision on what is going to help get businesses here.
When it comes to businesses, yes, we need to be business friendly in our community, but we also need to have the community's involvement in what businesses that we're bringing to our community, because we all have to support it, stand behind it. But we also have to make sure that when we go into negotiations with a business to come in, that we're not going to roll over and let them take advantage, lower taxes, no tax, you're getting tax breaks, things like that, because that's what's going to bring the business in, that's going to allow jobs in our community, more people coming into our community, and being able to sustain it with our fire department, because you bring in businesses, that's going to add a lot more work for our fire department, sheriff's department to maintain. So we need to make sure that, be business friendly, but do it in an economical way that benefits the community.
Um, uh, Definitely writing codes to help promote business growth, but also making sure that within those codes, we aren't writing them to allow like big box chains to come in and take over our community. Something we've been talking about in the Downtown Revitalization Committee is also style guidelines, what we want our city to look like, and make sure that new businesses are upholding to those guidelines. And then that also goes down to ordinances too, and abandoned buildings on our downtown. And though those businesses have been there for a long time, they still need to be upheld to the same standards as all of the other businesses functioning in town.
All right, thank you. The next audience submitted question was, if measure 1481 does not pass, will you bring more items to the voters on the ballot? And it has the comment that in the last 16 years, there've only been 2 that have been brought forth. So
I'll go ahead and start with this one. If 1481 doesn't pass, yes, we owe it to our community to bring more things out. 2 in 16 years is unheard of. I was shocked to actually hear that number. There should be a lot more brought to the table to the community to help better the community, and not just push it off on the sideline and not face it head on. It's something that needs to be dealt with in that physical time and not pushed away.
So I'll say yes, definitely we'll bring some things to the table. The biggest cry that I've heard over the last 16 years is the SDCs. SDCs are system development charges that people pay when they build a new home in the city, which then they pay into our infrastructure that we already have established. The city's whined about it, but they've never once presented it. And I'm not really even sure if it has to be presented, because I think it's an ORS thing, but I'm not really sure on that. But definitely that, and why not? Why not bring things? Why not? It's been a frustrating thing to watch over the 16 years, because the city has just put their brakes on, and they have not even tried to honor what the will of the people were in voting in it in the first place. And, you really have to go back and do the history of why that was put in place to understand why it's there.
I agree that we would have to bring it back to the voters. But one of the things that was changed that would help the city was in here, it says where at least 50% of the registered voters cast a ballot. Well, if you've lived here in this town, you will know that some people don't vote. So to get 50% of the voters to cast a ballot is sometimes difficult to do. That makes the cost of bringing it forward to the citizens a little expensive if we don't get anywhere. It could get turned right back down. So there's got to be a way that we can do this and make it right. But yes, we would have to bring it back to the voters. We would have to bring it back to the citizens to find out what that would be.
Wholeheartedly agree that we definitely need to do something about bringing it back to the voters. But I think surveys going out to our community about actually what would be something that they actually want to see. Because again, if 1481 doesn't pass, even though I'm voting for it, like what's the point of putting something else out there that might get shot down also? So making sure the community is aware of exactly what it is that we're wanting to do. So there isn't any issues on getting it passed. So I think communication and doing our research and our data analysis of what we're wanting and making sure that all voices in the community are being heard. So we don't run into any hiccups, because I'm pretty sure putting out a bond or a bill is still time consuming, and a lot of efforts put into that. So that's where I stand.
I gotta say, I'm actually more concerned about Measure 1481 than I am about who's gonna fill the 3 city council seats. Because I think we have some amazing candidates, and I think having a diverse opinions representing the city on council is going to be really beneficial. But as Marianne pointed out, the real crux of requiring go to the voters for any increase in taxes or fees or charges is that 50% rule. Because of the fact, like, just to get more than 50% of the voters out to, that's really challenging in a non-general election year. So that means that we can only really get these charges and fees increased every 4 years. And again, this is a cost to the citizens for the city to put that ballot measure together and get it on the ballot. So to me, that's really a disservice to the community, and it really administrative functions need to fall on the city and shouldn't rely on the voters.
Can I go?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so if I get elected, I'm going to be seeking a legal review of the constitutionality of that piece of language from 2008. Understand is that 2 separate attorneys, city attorneys, in addition to the League of Oregon Cities, have concluded that that violates state constitution. The state constitution endows the city council with the administrative authority over fees and charges and rates. And just for the record, we think that's true because this previous council have already changed rates for water, for sewer, for, as I mentioned, ambulance and EMS fees in the last couple years. But we didn't go to a vote for those. We did those because it was their interpretation that we were within our authority as a council. Now, I just want to remind everybody, feel free to look at, the city has over 400 different fees, charges and rates that it engages with the community. Can you imagine a ballot measure that showed 450 different fees and asking voters to try to approve those or not approve those? To me, it's so cumbersome. We need to return the authority that council has per the state constitution, allow them to rule on it. If the state constitution says no, council does not have the authority to set rates, charges, and fees for anything that it oversees, then I will say, yeah, then we need to hold an election. I don't know how often, but enough is required to get the 450 plus fees where they need to be. But my understanding is that's not what they're going to rule. And I would like to know the answer to that before we take all these issues to the voters.
I just want to point out that that rates are not part of the verbiage. Taxes, charges, and fees, rates can be raised as per city council's wishes. That's why we're able to raise electricity, water, and sewer without it going to a vote. As I mentioned before, fire and EMS have an idea of bringing in a food and drink tax. Like I mentioned, I would love to see that on the ballot. I also went to SDCs. I know that people have mentioned that we missed out on a lot of money not having higher charges for the SDCs for the building of all the new buildings there on the east end of town. I mean, levies, gas taxes, there's so many things that can go on the ballot that can help raise Cascade Locks' bottom line, and we haven't seen any of them. And I think it would be a good thing. I think putting that to the hands of the people is what that amendment is about, and we haven't had the chance to use that.
Well, I just really hope that 1481 passes, because if it doesn't, yes, we will be forced to bring things to the people to vote for, and it will be cumbersome on not only the council, but the people of our community.
All right, thank you all. We still have a little bit more time. Are you up for one more question, or do you want to? Because we got a couple from online as well. It says Galaxy S21 Ultra 5G. Is that your wife? All right. So a couple of these were addressed, but what does partnering with outside agencies mean to you?
I would think that you need to partner with outside agencies because we don't always get it right, and we kind of sometimes can't see the forest through the trees, and we need other people to be able to maybe show us the way that they've done it, and we can follow suit behind there and not have to reinvent the wheel. Outside agencies are good. And they have to be used with gingerness so that we are not abusive to them and vice versa. So.
Yeah, I agree with her on a lot of that aspect. Well, as I brought up in our questions earlier, is we need to work with outside agencies within our area, especially like when it comes to fire department and how they manage to do what they're doing. They're constantly working together as it is, the forestry, working with our city fire department, county fire and everything, fighting fires, doing what we need to do. So we always need to not seclude ourselves. We're no better than a community around us, and they may have a lot of knowledge that we don't see, that we can use some of what they're doing and tweak it to the way that would work best for our community.
Sorry, Bernard, go ahead.
Yeah, so we're partnering with outside is absolutely critical for us to be, a well-run city. I'll give two examples. When I was city administrator, we got a FEMA grant to underground about 2 miles of overhead utility lines. And then we work with the federal government for about $1 million to do another 6 miles on the South Bank. And that has reduced the city electric utilities maintenance and operations cost dramatically. That's some of our heaviest challenged lines because it runs literally right through forest. At least it used to. And overhead lines are subject to incredible outages in the winter when you have these storms. Now 6 of those miles are underground. So that could have never happened were it not for the city's work with the with our federal agencies. And just to reiterate what what one of the other candidates said, the idea of working with folks like the county for fire and EMS services is absolutely critical from a mutual aid perspective. So those are just 3 simple examples that are critical for us to be successful as a community.
Partnering with outside agencies is critical for the success of our community. The decisions that are made by the people around us have an effect on us, and the decisions we make in the city affect the people in our region around us as well. So examples of some outside agencies that it's important to partner with effectively. We got the port, got other cities, the county, ODOT, and our tribes. One of the important roles of mayor is to act as an effective booster, promoting our community, but also making people aware of the issues that are affecting our town. A good example of this is the utilities that we have to relocate as part of the construction project on the McCord Creek Bridge as you're coming into town. Y'all know that big bump as you're coming east on 84? We're going to have to relocate the utilities on that bridge, and it costs to the city of about $1 million. Financing that's a total cost to residents of 1.6 million. So lobbying ODOT to actually get funding to relocate those is an important role of the city and the mayor.
I'm not quite sure what the person asking the question means by outside agencies. If we're talking about someone to fill the role of financial officer or payroll, I would say no. I would like to keep those in-house. Otherwise, lobbyists, downtown revitalization, MCED, grant writers, FEMA, ODOT, all of those agencies. I mean, the first thought I had was I wouldn't hire an arborist to change my tire. These people know what they're doing, and in an area of expertise that city council isn't particularly versed on, and all of the information that they're able to bring and offer would be vital to our growth. Yes.
I don't think I could add anything else to them, but it is important to work with other agencies when we need to. They've got maybe a lot more information than what we got, vice versa. So everything that everybody has said has been very good, and I'm sorry I can't add to that.
It is important to work with different agencies. As the chair of the tourism committee, we work with several different alliances within our region to learn and benefit from what they're doing and what we're doing to work together. And no matter what level of city committee or city council, city government, you do work with different agencies to properly function and learn from others.
Yes, I echo a lot of what these folks here on stage have mentioned. I'm just going to take it back to the story of instead of agencies, I'll take it to businesses. I was involved in a fundraiser event with Google out in the Dalles last Friday. And I think that one of the biggest things is when we partner, whether it not be an agency, but a business, they can also bring those funds into the community to be able to be supportive. At the community, Columbia Gorge Food Bank, they raised over $15,000 just in that one night from Google alone. I know that might just be a flick for them, but having those relationships and being able to actually reach across and be able to have those conversations with those businesses is very vital to the work that the folks that are sitting here that might get elected are going to have to do. So, yes.
All right, thank you. Are you guys down for one more? Okay. So last question also via Zoom. Do you support more of year-round businesses in our community or more seasonal tourism? And why? As well as what businesses would you support if they came to town?
One minute. Okay.
You can have a minute and a half. How about that?
Yeah, minutes.
Do you want me to repeat it?
Repeat that.
Yeah, okay. So do you support more of year-round businesses in our community or more seasonal tourism? And why? And what businesses would you support if they came to town, or would you like to see come to town?
Okay, well, I can start with this one. Me, I'd like to see more non-seasonal. I want year-round is what I would want us to bring in. Seasonal also goes with economy. And as we all know, the economy isn't the greatest. So when the economy drops, tourism is going to drop. And that's not going to leave us anywhere where we need to be. We need the businesses will come in year-round, give our seniors in high school job opportunities, educational learning a trait. And business wise, I mean, I'd like to see more, industrial type work being able to come into the port area and the surrounding areas where we can actually have multiple jobs for our community, bringing more, revenue into our city, more taxes into our city, helping fund what needs to be done in the city. So I'm more of a supporter of year-round business coming in than just tourism.
I'm also of the mindset of having a long-term relationship with the business that you bring in. Like you mentioned, tourism is going to ebb and flow, and when you lose the market, then people aren't going to show up. So having relationships with businesses coming in, also the right type of business that actually has a middle income earner's position to actually buy a house within Cascade Locks and not, I mean, I think that a job at working at East Wind is great, but that isn't going to put any home buyers in Cascade Locks to actually entice people to move into the town also. So that's the way that I would look at it, is making sure that the businesses that are coming in, whether they're building a new structure, they actually have community benefits attached to it. So there's a local hire also involvement. So folks that might be out of work have an opportunity of actually applying for work within their town. And I think that would revitalize the way that our structure within the community is. So all these different languages can be put into these contracts for these businesses to come in. So it's just a matter of making sure that, again, we have the right business, because if we bring a Nestle and the town revolts, then what's the point of inviting a Nestle to town? So thank you.
Bernard and then Tiffany.
Yeah, not to sound wishy-washy, but the truth is we need both. When you think about Cascade Locks, some of our natural assets are spectacular scenery, and that comes with the tourism. And so it's only natural that we should take advantage of that and, capitalize on those economic resources that everybody wants to come here and have a beer, go for a hike, go for a bike ride, go for a sail, get on the water, go for a paddle. All those things are coming to life, and we see them grow because we're naturally gifted in that area. The other thing that I would like to see from a non-seasonal perspective is development or industrial property that the port has. To me, a brilliant solution would be something in the forestry products. We've got this great business in Bear Mountain that are doing the wood pellets, but there's new sources of economic growth in that business, in biomass and biochar. And I think that would be a perfect partner to grow in our industrial park and create those kind of more, high value industrial businesses that really give your property tax a boom, incredible increase. So if you can get a business like in there, again, taking advantage of our natural resources, I think that could be a win for the city and something that's for the future. Biomass is a growing, a way of generating energy. Biochar enriches our soil, and it's also growing. And another thing I would love to see more is AI and drone technology. Everyone knows that Benjamin and Hood River have really benefited from the growth in the drone industry. And there's so many great applications. So it would be nice to see some of that business settle in Cascade Locks as well.
So, I feel like we're a bedroom community. We're a place where we live here and we go work elsewhere. And I think it's a kind of an unrealistic expectation to expect that a business could succeed here. Oh, just a one item business. I think, if we had something that was combined, like a bakery and a deli and something like that, or maybe we could get some organic produce, or good produce. Most of us get our gas and shop elsewhere because it's too expensive here. I mean, it's definitely catered toward the tourists. Gas is more expensive here. The groceries are more expensive here, and they're not of the best quality. So a real expectation, I mean, would be a mix of both. I agree with Bernard, a mix of both. We used to have a bank. I don't know that that was a real feasible thing for us. I mean, as more business comes in, maybe it will be, but right now that's not a good expectation. But I would love to see something like, a deli or bakery or something that could do more than one thing that would cater to those of us who live here and those who visit here, something that would work for both. And I think, part of the problem too is that, we used to have so many businesses, but when the highway moved, we kind of lost all of that flow through traffic to keep those dollars here.
Let's do Courtney and then Pete.
Definitely need both. I love that the port's able to host the gem show, PCD days, Bridge of the Goddess run. All of those, I thoroughly enjoy getting together. I was really happy to have, oh goodness, Native American. Thank you. That was beautiful. We used to have a tow company that was attached to the Chevron, bringing back something like that. I think across the river, they've got a program called Knuckle Busters, where they're able to repair cars as well as help children and teens in the community. I think it would be spectacular to see something similar to that. Local crafts. I know I've heard a lot of people bring up Chinese food. If anybody out there's thinking about it. I bought some caramel from somebody at the Gresham Saturday Market a few weeks ago. They said they make it here in Cascade Locks. We've got a few industrial, but it'd be nice for them to have a shop front where we could also partake in the delicious caramel. And it would be nice to have some good produce. Organic grocer of some sort would be nice to see also. But I definitely think seasonal is what helps give us a boost, but the year-round businesses are what keep us going.
I'm echoing the sentiments of others here. I think we do need a little bit of both. Definitely, there is a huge seasonal influx of visitors that are coming here because we're surrounded by the natural beauty of the gorge. And that provides an opportunity for entrepreneurs. And I don't think entrepreneurs should not take advantage of that opportunity. I'd love to see more entrepreneurs capitalizing on that and providing more services, because that provides jobs and revenue for our local community. That being said, year-round businesses definitely benefit the residents and increase livability. Some of the reasons why we've heard that it's been hard to attract businesses to come to Cascade Locks are lack of childcare and affordable housing. And I think we probably all are aware that we have a childcare facility that's opened up, I think this week, today. So that's a huge win. Affordable housing, we got 45 new homes are going to be getting built here really soon. So we're kind of making ourselves more business friendly in those ways, investing in infrastructure, services, roads, parking, public services. That's other things we can do to make ourselves attractive to businesses to want to move into town. But I would like us to see if we can expand tourism to encompass the other 6 months of the year. I'm part of Hood River County Chamber, and their entire mission is to fill their hotel beds in the wintertime. They're not worried about tourism in the summer because people are coming to Hood River anyway. And I'd like to see us focus more on winter tourism and getting more people here. It would be beneficial to the hotels and all of us as well.
I fully agree with that, Pete. And I also agree with you, Bernard. It is a combined necessity. We need both year-round businesses and seasonal business, and trying to figure out ways to fill those hotel beds or short-term rentals during the winter is really important, and that does directly kind of correlate with our tourism committee and what events we're putting together that can help draw individuals into our town before they go to Hood River. Because I work in Hood River, and right now is a slow time in Hood River, but it's just the seasonal change. And as soon as winter hits and the mountain opens, it's just as busy as it is in summer in Hood River.
Oh, I'm last again? Oh, how nice. Well, it was not my choice. I would like to see more year-round businesses. As a person that I lived here all my life, it's nice to be able to go downtown, go out to dinner, do things that you can do year-round. I agree in some aspects that we need a little bit of both, but tourism comes because tourism is here. I mean, it's the way the gorge is. So I would prefer more year-round businesses and family wage jobs, frankly.
All right. Well, thank you all. This concludes the Cascade Lock City Council Candidate Forum, and we appreciate all of your time, responses, and commitment to Cascade Locks, and we thank everyone for coming out.
Janice, Heather.